So I have clicked import video and now select the three videos I want to put a tracer on. I hit open, and very important, I have to decide prior to importing videos if I have used a tripod or if I use handheld, meaning pan, zoom, tilt, anything. So if I use a handheld shot, I want to make sure that automatic camera stabilization is turned on before I imported the videos, because the system will now stabilize the footage, and the tracer that's going to be added to the footage will be camera tracked. So I don't have to do any manual tracking. It's done completely automatically for me. I have three different videos that will yield different results, and I want to edit those videos and show you how I can just like perfect a pretty good tracer. So I've shot one, shot two, shot three right here. They all look pretty good to me. If it wasn't a zoomed shot, for instance, I would be happy with this and just move on. But because we're zooming in into the landing point, we have to make sure that the landing matches, the dynamics of the landing match. So there's a couple of different things we have to adjust here. Now, before I go into it further, I just want to make sure that you're aware that there's two types of editing a line. There is line molding, and then there is keyframes. So you can either edit a video through the gears icon here and then use one of these options, or you can just go into this option right here called edit, then select edit trajectory, and here you have the two options. Keyframe means that you kind of keyframe the location of the golf ball in every other frame. You don't have to keyframe every single dot, every single frame. You can skip as many frames as you want, unless it gets to the peak and it starts curving down. Then I suggest putting a couple more keyframes in, and also put more keyframes in at the beginning just to get the line dynamic correct. But other than that, you can jump multiple keyframes using spacebar, or the number 5, the number 6, or the number 7 key, number 4 as well. So number 5 will jump 5 frames, number 6 will jump 10 frames, and number 7, I believe, will jump 20 frames. Depending on the frame rate, this will obviously be more than enough or not enough, depending what frame rate you're using. But the difference also between the keyframes and the line molding is that in line molding is typically used when you don't see the golf ball at all. And that happens when you're using like a DSLR and you're using a very, very long exposure rate. And the ball is rather a smudge than a solid circle. So you'll see something that is a difference between like an iPhone video and a DSLR video. Usually with a DSLR video, out of the box, your settings will be 1/25th in exposure, or 1/75th, and because of that, the exposure is very long. So fast moving objects get very smudged. And for those objects that you can't see, I mean, the tracer will only trace what it can see. If something is invisible to it, it's too smudged, then it won't be able to track it. There is a feature that is called long exposure tracking. I'll show you that once we get to long exposure shots. But if you're using a DSLR, I would certainly recommend maybe using a shorter exposure rate, like a 250th or 120 over 20, 121 over 125, something that just freezes the ball a little bit more. Then automatic tracking will work. If you're not too worried about automatic tracking and you feel like you don't mind adding a line molding or keyframes into it, then you're free to shoot at any shutter speed you want, basically. So now I'm just gonna show you a couple of things here with the keyframing. First of all, once I get into keyframing, I see the result of where the ball was tracked. And here the app has done a very good job tracking the ball. I'm gonna press Z on my keyboard to zoom in. And now I'm gonna press spacebar and see how well it has performed. I can tell that there's just a tiny bit more golf ball here. I will add a little more keyframes to that shot. And that's basically all I have to do. Like you've seen, I've just hit spacebar multiple times. That's why the keyframes are so wide spread from each other, and the ones before it are very tight to each other because they're actually the system has tracked frame by frame. And now what I'll do is I'm just gonna focus on the descent of the ball, the part where it's going down. And I could now either go straight into setting my landing spot, or I can go a little bit further and then add keyframes on the way down. So what happens usually on the descent part of the shot is when you zoom in, you'll see the ball coming down in the zoomed cropped image because you're zoomed in. So I'm gonna go and skip a bunch of frames. Sorry, I assume everybody can see the pop-up, right? Where I'm at right now. Because on some, yes, okay. Because on I know that because this is a pop-up within the app, and on Google Meets it doesn't show up. So okay, now I'm gonna press the key 5 a bunch of times, so it skips 5 frames, and I'm gonna look at the landing area here and look for the moment when the ball comes down. Or is it here? All right, went too far. So here it is coming down. Everybody see it? And now what I'll do is I'll go back in time, basically in the timeline, and I'll try to find it. Now I'm using spacebar to go forward, and that's basically the first time I get to see it. Here is just about here coming down. All right, here it is. So I'll just mark every couple of frames the ball coming down. Here it is again. Here it is again. I usually don't go all the way to the bottom. I just go more or less like 10 frames before it hits the ground, and then I said continue to landing spot. And here what I do is I use the slider to match the landing perfectly. So I have it landing right here. So that's the landing frame. And now I set the landing frame just by setting this position where it landed. And what you'll see is the flight time will now change. That hasn't changed. But if for example, if I did this, you see the flight time change. That's too much. I'll go back a little bit. That's the landing position right here. Let's go back, and now I set it, and you'll see the flight time change again, 6.3. So this is the flight time, 6.3 seconds, matching perfectly dynamics here. And I'm going to go ahead and create the line, and now I've created the line. And this is an interesting shot because what happened here is our prediction doesn't take wind into consideration. And on the way down, it was very windy, left to right wind, and the ball just started moving to the right, and that's perfectly visible here. Now I can play back that video. And now we zoom in, and we have the perfect dynamic here. That's great. Now same thing for this video. I'll go into trajectory. I'll check the quality of the tracer, nicely down to the peak. What I'll do now is I don't want to bother with going all the way to the ground. I'm just gonna set the landing spot. So I'm not going frame by frame. I'm just gonna quickly set the landing spot. Here it is. Ball has landed. I'm just gonna set that. I'm gonna let the system automatically create the tracer for me without me going frame by frame. And let's see the result. And I'm happy with that. Now you can see that I have a fade out turned on there. I can turn it off, but we'll go through those settings in a minute. And then I have another video right here, and I want to check the tracking result, the tracking quality here. I'll go back into keyframing, and I'll zoom in, and I can see a little bit of incorrect tracer because it looks like it has caught the trees here instead of the ball. So what I'll do now, instead of adding more keyframes to this, I'm gonna go back a few frames and see where the keyframes still match the ball movement. And from that moment, I will now add new keyframes using the spacebar or skipping multiple frames by hitting the number 5. So I usually try to do as many as I can see, and then just set the landing spot based on vision. So here, see, let's zoom in. Here, see it land. automatically send the landing time, straight line. Happy with that. As you can see, the apex has changed and everything matches perfectly. Yeah. So this is how easy it is with like an iPhone recording. And as mentioned before, the best results you will get is as long as the camera can see the ball, it will track it, meaning that also positioning of the camera in accordance to where the player stands will help. I wouldn't recommend doing shots across the body, or like if you're working with somebody who's a fade, I would position the camera or yourself a little bit more to the right. So even if they fade the ball and it starts left of them, the camera still has kind of a line of sight to the golf ball, because that will make sure that automatic tracking works for you. But in any case, if automatic tracking fails, you can always go into keyframe editor or into Moulding and add those things manually. And now we'll talk a little bit about the manual process on videos where we can't see the ball very well. These are recordings using a DSLR. So let's take this video right here. So this is a video that has been recorded with a DSLR at 160th, I think. I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So actually, it was a camera that was without shutter. That's why you see the huge smudge here. Like you don't see the club, anything. And as you can see, the miniature is grayed out, so there's no tracking. But there's a green hand, and the green hand means the video has been stabilized. So I don't have to do anything. However, if I want to, for example, delete stabilization, like remove it from the video, because I noticed after I have imported the videos that I actually shot from a tripod and not a handheld camera, then I can still remove the tracking, not having to go back and retrace it. Or I can manually add tracking or retrack the video using automatic tracking for camera stabilization. But if you have that set up here in settings under automatic camera stabilization in advance, turned on or off, you never have to use that feature. So what I'll do is I'll try my luck with keyframes here. So I'm going to go in. Now what I'll do is I'm going to set the moment of impact precisely. So that's, in my instance, just before it starts moving. So I'll set that as impact frame. And once I've set that, I'm going to mark the position of the golf ball, then hit spacebar. I don't want to hit spacebar too many times, like more than once here, because I'll probably lose the ball in just a few frames. So I can see the smudge here. Then zoom in. Then I press next frame, or I press spacebar. I see it here. I see it here. And then I don't see it anymore. Yeah, I don't see it. And now what I could do is I could try my luck. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 keyframes, which is the minimum of what you have to have in order for the AI to figure out a trajectory. So I can use set landing zone. Set landing point, and then I can change also flight time. I'm gonna decrease it to let's point 6.1, or decrease it a little bit less to 5.9. And I'm gonna set the landing to where I remember it landed just right off the fairway. And I hit create line, and now I have this tracer created for me by the AI taking just the dynamics data from 4 shots and figuring out what it could have done there in those 4 frames. So that's done. Yeah, happy with that. I was lucky because I was able to see it for 4 frames. Didn't have to do much more. Then there's another instance. What if I don't see it at all? So I have this video of DJ hitting here, and that's a particular shot where because of the light conditions and because of the camera exposure time, it's completely smudged. It's invisible. There's nothing really you can do about it. You can't even see it for more than 2 frames. So let me see if I can do anything with keyframes. I'll go 1. Okay, I'll set the impact frame to this one. And I mark the first position, mark the second position. I kind of see it here, but then I lose it. And you see continue set landing point is grayed out because I'm missing one more frame for the AI to kick in. So what I'll do now is I don't want to start guessing where the second ball was. I know he had a little fade into this direction. So I'll just go back, I'll cancel and close, and then I go back into trajectory. Actually, you can go into this part here. I'm just so used to the left side. You can go into edit trajectory, then line molding. And I'll just use line molding for that shot. And I'll set the impact frame to the moment where it's hitting it, set it. And now I'm gonna mold this line by adjusting the starting point and adjusting the ending point and the peak and the length. So I'm just gonna go to the first frame. It's flying this way. So I'm gonna move it so it matches this direction. And then I can use my trackpad with two fingers, or my mouse with the middle scroller to go in and out of the video and then adjust the curvature accordingly. And then I have the option called acceleration, and that tells me I can increase or decrease the acceleration. So here I have a dot for the first frame, second frame, third frame, and here I'm just gonna widen them just because it accelerates so fast off the club. And now I'm happy with the line molding part, and I create the line. And I'll change color so you can see better. I'm just gonna change color, change off. So now I'm just gonna hit it. As you can see, it's stabilized. I didn't have to do anything in terms of stabilization. And yeah, I'm done with line molding. So that's an example of what you would do if you couldn't see the line and you wanted to just mold a line into place. I can then again change flight time and change landing position if I wanted to re-edit it. But if I wanted to re-edit the shape of the line itself, not only the landing position, I would go into line molding, back into line molding, and then change the shape to what I would like it to be, and then create line again. So now I've changed the shape again, and I'm fairly happy with this. Now, if I wanted to export all those 4 videos, I have my export options here on the right, on the bottom. So I can either export current shot, or I can click this little arrow down here, and I can export selected shots or all shots. All shots means it's just all the shots in this project. Selected shots brings up another pop-up where I can select which shots I want to export. And once I'm happy with that, I just click export and it will export those shots. Another neat thing is right here. So this is the folder that has all the videos that we're working on today. And one thing you'll notice in that folder, something called STPDATA files will also be created and placed in the same folder where your videos are. And those STPDATA files will have the same name as your video with .stpdata. What those files are all the changes and the edits you have done for a particular video. So if you're working with another editor, and for instance, you have done some work on a video and you want somebody else to finish that project or finish that video, you can simply send him the file with the STPDATA file that has the same name as the video, and they can then move the video and the file into the same folder, import that video into their Shot Tracer application, Shot Tracer Pro, and they will see all the changes, all the edits you've done for that particular video. This is really neat because it speeds up collaborative work. But also if you, for example, have a line shape, line look and feel or color, you can just send them the video plus the STPDATA file, so they can import that into their project. And then they can take, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute, and they can take those line properties and apply them directly to all the other videos in their application, in their project. And we'll discuss this now in terms of like, how do we change the look and feel of a line, and how do we apply the changes of that look and feel of that line to all the other videos automatically in the project. And to do so, I'm going to discuss the different options we have in Shot Tracer, starting with human cutout. And human cutout is basically human occlusion. If you turn human cutout on, what it will do is it will cut out the person when they cross the line. So instead of the line being on top of them, the line will appear behind them. So in this video, for example, we have Dustin stepping in front of the line, and we have another person stepping in front of the line. And the line is like in front of them, and it doesn't look realistic because obviously they're in front of, behind the line. So what you have to do in order to mask the golfer so they appear in front of the line rather than on top of it, you just go simply into here. You turn on human cutout quality to either low or high. High will render slower, low will render faster. The difference is basically quality. High does a very good job cutting it out. Low does a decent job cutting it out, but it's much faster to render out. And I would only apply this setting to videos that have a person walking through the line. It doesn't make sense to apply this to a video that doesn't have a person walking through the line, because it just will increase the time it takes to export the video. Then you have tracer type. Oh, and by the way, you can only see this applied on the render. You will not see that applied on the preview video, just so you know. So don't be confused that you've turned on human cutout and you hit preview and nothing appears when the guy walks in front of the line, because the human cutout only applies to the exported video. The same will comes to mask. I can actually talk about this now because it's on top of here. We have this mask feature. When you turn on mask, you can draw a mask on the video, and on the export, the line will not be rendered in the masked area. This is a great feature if you, for example, have a person hit over a tree and you want to mask out the tracer so it doesn't look like it's coming down in front of a tree, but behind the tree. All you would do is, let me just delete this mask. I'm going to turn off the mask in order to change the landing position. So I'm going to move it behind this tree, just as an example here, and I would mask out this area around the tree. So I'm going to hit plus, and I'm going to mask out this area. I can make it smaller so I can make it more precise. So this would, and if I had this now applied on the render, not on the preview, but on the render, the line would be basically not show up once it gets behind the tree, and then once it gets once it's visible again under the tree, it will show up again down here. And it also works with camera stabilization. So this mask will also work when a camera is moving, panning, zooming. It's a very neat feature. Now, if I wanted to change the landing spot, as you can see, I can't do it now because the mask is on. So I'm just going to go back because I don't want that. All I have to do is hit the plus sign again, and you see the mask go a little bit less, more transparent. But now I can still change the landing spot if I wanted to edit the landing. And if I wanted to edit the mask, I hit plus again, and I draw over the area where I wanted to mask it out. That's quite straightforward. But let's continue now with the tracer itself for the line to add different effects, different features to it. So now I have a tracer type. So I can, and that's the end part of the tracer. So I can let's see, let's go to this one. I think it's better visible and make it red so you can see it better on your end. All right, so I have 3D. The 3D will make it more of a tapered line at the peak. The peak will be more of a 3D kind of effect, the flat line on the top. 2D makes the line more like a pipe kind of looking line. Pointy 2D means that the start of the tracer is rather pointy than a square. Rounded, sorry, pointy as in this. Rounded would mean it's rounded at the nose, basically at the start of the tracer. But then you can also change to dots if you wanted to do dots. If you wanted to do circles, you could change to circles. You could do so if I do just dot, it will basically just produce a dot on top of the ball, more or less. So you have a dot there. If you do dot full line, it means the dots will actually stay where the ball was moving. So these are the two different dot features here. But I usually go with the rounded 2D line. I like that the most. But it's up to your preference. And like I said before, if there's ever some type of line that that an edit team wants to have customized, we can always add a different type of line to the settings here. And then we have tracer effects, and these are the effects that the line can take during the shot. For example, fly out during flight. That means it's gonna shoot out with the ball, and I can set a fly out delay. So that's the fly out delay is fly out after seconds, which is 1 second. So the tracer is gonna, so the person is gonna hit, and the tracer flies out after 1 second. Now, if I wanted to do it faster, I would set something to 0.2. And right now, after 0.2 seconds, the line flies out. And you can set that to maybe 5 seconds, 6 seconds. Ball lands after, let's say, 5.9 seconds. You can send it to 5.9. That means it's going to fly out once the ball has actually hit the ground. Nice little way to customize it. Then you have fly out after landing. That's just a preset. That means it's just going to fly out after this value right here, 5.9. And then fade out at apex. This is something that's neat to use. Let's see here. This is a good example where we can use it. This one is neat to use when you're zooming in and you don't want the tracer on the upwards moving tracer to be in the way of the downwards moving tracer. I have to set this. Sorry, fade out after apex. All right, here we go. So now the line hits the apex and it fades out. So it kind of gives this fade out effect once it hits the apex. So when you're zooming in, the upwards moving line does not interfere with the downwards moving line. I'll go back to fade, and the fade out tracer is just that after it lands, it fades out, and you can set when the line should hide down here, hide line after X amount of seconds. In this instance, it hides after 10 seconds, and it just kind of fades out. We're adding now another feature that lets you also customize how quickly or how slowly that line should fade out, because right now it's kind of hard-coded to fade out after 0.5 seconds. For 0.5 seconds. We'll let that be also a custom feature within the application, so you can set how quickly or how slowly the line itself should then fade out. All right, then we have the tracer size. So you can set the beginning size and the end size of the line, and it will affect the way the line looks. And then you have this option called color change after seconds. And that allows you to change the color. Let's see here. That allows you to change the color after a set amount of time of the tracer. So let's start with this turquoise line, and we want it to move to a red line. Actually, let's find a color that's a little bit more. Yeah, here we go. So we're gonna have we want it to start with a red line and then cover it with a blue line. So what will happen now, you'll see the tracer start red and then turn slowly blue. And I can customize all the different settings here in terms of like, let's make the line a little thicker. So it's, 200. So I can change the speed, how quickly it changes color. And I can also change the setting of when it changes color. For instance, I wanted to change color after 3 seconds, but I wanted to change color very, very fast. So I'm gonna use this setup. So 1, 2, 3, and it's just instantaneously changed color. Now I want it to go slower, to slowly change color from the beginning. So I'm gonna have another 3 seconds, right? 1, 2, and 3, and now it's slowly changing color. So it's changed a little slower, and the further down I go on that slider, the slower it will change the color. So I'll set this to 2 seconds and have decreased the speed of the change of color. And now after 2 seconds, it slowly starts changing color. Now if I want the the end tip of the line. Let's say I want the red to stay above the tree, so below the trees. So I'll change the area. Like I use the slider. I can set until when the color is supposed to change, and I want it to change only until just above the trees here. And now it's going to change colors after 2 seconds, only to that particular point above the trees. And the descent stays red. If you don't want it to change colors during flight, you can just simply turn it off. And now you can just use the line, two color line without the change. And you can also set the gradient for both features. So this is the gradient. I want it to be a hard cut gradient, and I want it to cut just above the tree right here. So now I'm going to have the shot blue, red, and that's without it changing colors. All right, so that's the gradient part. So I can change the gradient. I can also add a glow to the line. So I'm going to add a little bit of a glow to the line. So that's like, I'm overdoing it right now, but just for presentation purposes. So now I've added a glow filter to the line. I'm not sure if you can see it very well in this stream, but you'll see that the line has more popping kind of look to it. There's no transparency in the line. It's rather kind of a laser kind of glow. And I have to use those two sliders for intensity and for size. So the width of the glow. So I have to use those two sliders to apply the two different features of the glow, which is the intensity and the size of it. Then I can add a shadow to the line. So that's the shadow that we see down here. And I can adjust the shadow curvature using this slider right here. So for a fade, I would adjust it. Most of the time you won't need to adjust the shadow because it's going to be auto generated very well. But if you have to adjust it, you can use that slider to adjust the shadow for the line. Then we have the option of darken the descent. So if I turn this on, you can see that the red color has now become dark red. It just gives it a little bit of a 3D look to it. If you're using the, for example, the 3D or the pointy 3D line, it just gives the descent part more of a 3D tapered look because you have added that little darkening part to the line. So I'm going to turn it on, turn it off. You see how perspectively it changes kind of the look and feel of the line. And then you have the option to adjust the fade in and the fade out part of the tracer. So I can actually just turn it off, both of them. So now you can see that pointy end of the line. Now if I turn it back on for the end of it, I can now adjust how much fade I want it to have, or how little fade I want it to have. So I just want to have just the tip of the pointy line. I just want that to be faded, or I want the whole line to start fading much sooner. And the same applies for the start part of the line. So now it's turned off. Now I'm going to turn it on, and I can adjust the fade of the line as to how much fade I want there to be. All right. Now there's this option here to hide the tracer after X amount of seconds. So I have that preset to 10 seconds. Then I have, I can readjust the flight time, but I can adjust the flight time also down here. Then I have delay. I can actually add a delay for the tracer. So and that's counted in frames, not in seconds, very important. So if I put 10 frames delay, what will happen now is the line will appear 10 frames after the shot was hit. I usually apply the delay if I'm doing a ball follow that is very like very well zoomed in. So I apply like a 2-frame delay. So there's a little bit of a gap between the golf ball and the line. Or I set something to I set the line to -300. I apply, that's a negative delay. That means the line will already show when before the ball is hit. And what I'll do next is I'll add a little outline color, like let's say 50 pixel outline color. And I do let's put a red outline color. And then what I'll do here is I set the alpha to 0, transparency to 0. I'll turn off the shadow Let's make this one a little bit more visible. More. 300. So now I have kind of this outline here. And what you'll see here is, let's increase this to minus 390. Go this high. All right. So now what you'll see here is, before I hit the shot, the line is already in place. Just a little kind of hack you can use if you wanted to, for example, show the line go inside a pipe or a pre-selected shot, pre-visualized shot. You're trying to add a tracer before the initial shot was hit. This gives you that particular option to do. So we'll set it back to 0. There's no delay, and we will fill the gap inside the outline. And if I want to remove the outline, also gives me this nice little feature now that there's more colors within the line. So you have the middle color, the outline color, and then it merges into this red color. Another nice little touch where you can customize the line if you wanted to, or just turn it off overall and set it to 0, back to 0. Here are some presets for pop-ups, and we'll go next over those pop-ups. But rather than, we'll talk a little bit about custom pop-ups as well. So here are 2 pop-ups that you can set, preset. You can use carry distance. You can change that to total, for example, or whatever you want, really. Just any text you want, any values you want, metric or imperial. Same goes for apex, but you can change the position to right or left of the line, but it doesn't give you really any customization options other than what you can see here on the screen. So if you want something quick and dirty, this is the best bet. But if you want to go into pop-ups and make them more fancy and customize them, we'll now talk about the pop-up editor right here and the things that it can help you create. We have some presets here. So for example, this preset is called add distance. So this is actually fly out distance. So what I'll do is I'll enter a value of my shot, let's say 282 yards, and the pop-up will appear here, and the little X will appear here. In the X marks basically where I want to attach this number to in terms of the line. The X is always the beginning of the starting point of the tracer. And I can attach the line, the number to the beginning, to the side, to behind it. I'll attach it just off to the right, close to the line. Here is my pop-up settings, and that means I can edit everything. I can edit the text, the font, the size, the animations, the animation speed, everything and anything I want to. I can get really, really custom if I wanted to do it, like have my own kind of custom font, etc. I can go very deep into this. But here, the presets will give me the following. So I have camera stabilization turned on. I want the pop-up to fly out with the line. So if I turn this off, the X will turn off. Now the X is turned off, meaning that yardage will stay in place. So if I play that back, it will just stay here, not do anything. Now, if I turn on fly out with line, it will now fly out with the line. So I have attached it to the line position, and now the numbers will fly out with the line itself. And you can see how they get a little smaller and smaller the further it goes away, because I can set a starting scale and ending scale. So the starting scale is the overall scale, so I can size it up a little bit, make it 2. And then the ending scale, I can reduce that to 0.3, make it much, much smaller when the further it goes. So now we'll start bigger and then become smaller and smaller the further it gets. Now, if I turn off camera stabilization and fly out, that number here, I would suggest just putting it in the corner here, making it a little bit bigger. And now it's just going to stay in this little corner and not move with the line, nor will it move, nor will it scale, basically. It will just stay in the corner here. So it just gives you this tremendous amount of flexibility and the ability to be creative how you want to use this kind of animation. The same applies for add image. So for example, you have a PNG or something and you want to add it to the video right here. Let me just create a quick PNG. So I'm just going to do a screenshot. I will create a square here. Let me remove this thing. I'm going to add an image. select image. It's usually saved on desktop. Here we go. Now this image is here. Same thing applies to the image. I can scale it up and down. If I wanted to, I can add it to fly out with the line and be stabilized with the camera. So I'll add this image here. So now this image will fly out with the line. And as you can see, it's also scaling itself. So it always stays at 0. Let me just scale it down. So I'm gonna scale it to 1, start with 1, and then I want it to go down to 0.3. I want it to become smaller. So that image now will fly out with the tracer. And a good example of this is the crushers or like different teams with Live. They usually attach a like little logo, like the team logo, to the beginning of the line, and they let it fly out with the tracer, which is quite neat. But essentially, it gives you the ability to for example, upload your own kind of PNGs, icons, and if you want to add any sort of animations to it, so let me turn this off right here. Add any animations or pop-ups to it, it gives you that ability to do so. So I'm gonna add ball speed, for example. It's a preset, but you can again customize that preset, and I'm gonna overlay it on that square right here. And with ball speed, there's some presets already set for ball speed. So I have the text, which I can change if I wanted to do club speed. I can just simply change club speed. Change the club speed, change the value to 120. I don't know, my driver is 110 maybe club speed. And then how quickly should the value animate? Should it not animate at all, just come right up? Should it animate until apex, until landing, or just for a few seconds? Let's say 0.5 seconds, for example. And when does the animation start? Shot impact, and when should this pop-up hide? For example, line hides. So just want to make sure that those things match. Line hides with for example, my PNG pop-up. So now what will happen is, as soon as I hit it, the box will show up, and the animation will show up. And once the line hides, I think I have the line hide set to 10, and let's change that to 1. So so the line will hide after 1 second, and corresponding to that 1 second, the box will hide as well. So both things will hide at the same time. Then I have other pop-ups as well here. So another good example here, if I wanted to add a pin, I can use this little pop-up right here, which is the pin. It's also pre-calibrated for you, so it uses camera stabilization. It doesn't fly out. You don't want it to fly out. And it is not in front of the line, but behind the line. And what I can do now is adjust the value. So I had like 154 for this. Well, let's put 154 for this shot. And then I can use the slider right here to drag the pop-up to its position. So I can use the slider with the zoom and drag the pop-up to its position. There we go. And for instance, now I can also reduce the size of the pop-up because I feel like it's too large for the moment when I zoom in. Let's put it to 0.8, adjust it. I want it to be right above the flag here. And when do I want it to show up? I don't want it to show up when the shot is hit. I want it to show up 2 seconds before the shot is hit. That's why I have a show offset, and I also have a hide offset. And what the offset does, it communicates to the system that I want that pop-up to appear -2 seconds before the ball is hit, because my trigger is shot impact and my offset is -2. So I'm gonna 2 seconds before it showed up, ball is hit, zoom in, it hides at apex as apex is set. If I wanted to hide at landing and add an offset of 2 seconds, so it's gonna stay 2 seconds after the ball has landed, I can do so. And what we can add to this one as well is fade out at apex, the line, because we're zooming in. So you see the pop-up there. The line now fades out, ball lands, and 2 seconds later, the pop-up hides. And I want the landing of the tracer to be more visible. So I'm going to turn off end fade. Let's zoom in here. I'll turn that off as well. And I want it to be pointy. I want it to match the position where it lands. That's just about here. And I want to make it thinner, the landing part. That's too thin. And let's see how these changes have now been applied. Yeah. Great. Any questions so far? Okay. So let's go to another neat feature that we have is actually let's discuss if anyone here does, for example, drone tracers or any drone kind of work, how you can apply a tracer to the drone. Fairly simple. All you have to do is make sure that you apply a impact frame that is corresponding with the actual shot. Since we can't listen to an audio to detect an impact frame in a drone shot, we have to manually set it. So I'm going to turn off tracking for now and manually set the position where a ball was hit. So in this video, I'm going to set it to, let's see here, -10, +10 frames. So here is the impact, add shot. And one thing I don't need to do is I don't need to wait for that system to trace the shot because it won't trace it, it's too far away. I just wanted to stabilize it. So I'm going to stabilization, automatic. And now the software is just stabilizing the video without doing any tracking for it. This takes a few seconds to stabilize. For drone shots, I recommend if you're using still shots with pan, tilt, and zoom, perfectly fine. If you're using drone movement like a flight, always fly in one direction. Don't fly in different directions because stabilization is not going to work very well. It stabilizes in 2D, not in 3D, but just keep that in mind. Here, what I'll do is I will add trajectory. I don't see the ball, but that's why I'm going to use line molding. Set impact frame, and now I'm just going to mold the line into position. And I'm going to reduce the acceleration because we're far away from it. Create the line. Let's make it red so we can see it better. And that's it. That's a quick drone shot right here. All right, and then we have another feature called ball tracer / putt tracer, and that's really neat when you have like chip shots or somewhere where you see the ball for a long period of time, like from the start to end. Like this shot right here. This is a bunker shot. Bunker shots, again, audio is not recognized, auto-recognized because it's just not loud enough. So we have to add impact frame manually. So here we go. See where we see the ball get out of the bunker in the first frame. Here. So now I'm gonna add shot. Again, no need for it to track it because it's not a full shot, it's just a bunker shot, but I want it to stabilize the video. So I'm gonna use stabilization without a turn off tracking, just a stabilization. Stabilized, green hand, and now I'm going to edit putt ball tracer. Now I can press Z on my keyboard to zoom in. I'm going to go back one frame. That's the first frame where I see the ball. Set first frame, mark the ball, and just mark the position of the golf ball. And once it starts curving, I don't want to skip too many frames because I want it to have a nice curve to it. And I'm pressing spacebar to skip multiple frames. And that's where it bounced, so I have to bounce. Let's go back a little bit. And you see I'm marking behind the ball because I want the line to look like it's attached to the back of the ball instead of on the ball. It just bounces. So now I'm going to do a rollout. So I'm just going to press 5 multiple times because on a rollout, nothing really changes. All right, and here it's stopped moving. Good, now create the line. And now I have that tracer here with the rollout. And as you can tell, here again, I have these options down here. I can set multicolor. I can set an outline. I can set a delay. Sometimes I set a 1 frame delay just to give the ball and the line a little bit more space. So you can see the result here. Hits the ball, and I have the perfect rollout with camera stabilization. I can also set if I want the line to starting thickness, ending thickness. This, for example, would be now 100 and 100, meaning the line is the same width at the start as at the end. There's no desizing of the line, and I can set where the color should change. For example, I want it to change here on the just after the bounce, and I want to add a little bit of a fade to it. So simple as that. And then I can also decide what I want. I can also do dots and circles. So if you guys are using like drone shots, so I've seen that a lot with other editors, they put a drone above the green, and then they have the incoming kind of shot. So for that kind of incoming shots, you could use line molding. But what about if the drone is just hovering above the green, looking down at the green to show where the ball has landed and where it rolls out? For example, you don't want to do a tracer in it, you just want to put a circle around it. So all I have to do here is I put a circle. So I have this circle, and I can resize the circle to something bigger. No, it's too big. Let's put it 150. And now I have the circle around the ball for each frame. Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I should just do it's in preview. So if you render it out, it's actually it should stay, I think. Let's see here. No, there's another feature. Maybe it's not currently working full line. This should be full line. I'll mix it up. Okay, so I need to turn that on, I think. So there's when you turn on circle, in this case, it's not doing it for some reason, but it should be doing it. It will just place a single circle around the ball, and you should never have a delay on that. You should have a delay set to 0. So that way you can have a single circle, not like it is here, where it's like a string of circles, but just a single circle above the ball. If you're doing those kind of shots from a drone or somewhere where you just want to kind of pinpoint, oh, here's the ball, look how it's tracking, and you don't want to put a tracer on it. Good. Then just quickly, one more thing. We have this option of adding a swing tracer onto a golf swing, for example. Same thing applies here. Just the difference is I'm not setting because it's a slow motion video, I'm not setting the impact frame. I'm setting the starting frame. So I'm gonna set add shot to a starting frame. Here again, I don't need the ball tracking, I just need the swing tracking. So what I'll do is I'll use camera stabilization, let the camera stabilization do its thing, and then manually I'll quickly add a swing tracer to the shot. So edit swing, and then I'm just gonna set it to where it starts, the club head starts moving. So here it starts moving, set first frame, zoom in. And now I'm gonna press the key number 5 because it's a slow motion video, I wanna jump multiple frames. Unless the club starts curving a lot, then I'm going frame by frame. The club path, I mean, so here. So now the club curves at the peak, so I'm gonna go kind of frame by frame by frame by frame. And then it starts moving in a linear movement again, and I'll just skip multiple frames. And I'm done. Now the swing tracer created, and the same settings apply to a swing tracer. I can change the the starting width, the end width, as I want. What's also another neat little feature is if I wanted to apply like a trace to that, I can use a edit trajectory. I can use it actually a putt bolt tracer, and just as we've done previously, I can quickly add on top of the swing tracer another layer, which is, for example, the bolt tracer right here, and fairly quickly add a shorter trajectory, because I'm just going to add the trajectory until I can not see the ball anymore. About here, we'll go back to circles, fade outline, and then make the line at the end small. So now I have both applied swing tracer plus bolt tracer flyout to that video. And then I can also decide when to hide the swing tracer. Now it hit right at impact. So I can change that disappear after 5 seconds. That means it will disappear after 5 seconds. And the way of hiding the tracer, again, you can hide it during the swing or after the swing. Right, so now I've gone through all of that. I go back to my shot tracer videos or swing tracer videos. And for example, I really like how this line looks. I like that it's a two-tone line with let's turn it on, change color. I like that it changes color after 1 second. And what I don't want to do right now is I've created this great line and the look and feel is great. And I don't want to kind of apply manually those same settings to the other videos. Now, all I have to do is go into, and there's going to be a change. We're going to add this button just next to the edit button in the next version up here. But for now, you have to go into the gears icon, apply settings to other shots, and then you have different settings. You can apply the line settings, swing tracer settings, putt tracer settings, pop-up settings, image settings, and the horizon. That means where the ball has landed, to all the other videos in one go. And in this instance, I'm going to apply the line settings to other shots, and I'm going to select my tracer shots here. And now I press OK. And as you can see, without me doing anything, I've applied all those nice little settings from one video to all the other videos in my project. On this note, I think we've gone through most of the app's features. Now I'm just going to let you ask ahead if you have any questions.